Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today will be my full review of the um, Artisan Cutlery Great White. This happens to be a White Mountain Knives exclusive version of the Great White. The Great White, of course, is a collaboration with Michael Gavick, who, Gavco Knives, who names all of his knives on various different sharks. This one's named after the Great White. Um, as I mentioned in the first impressions video, as I look up pictures of great whites and stuff, I don't really see the similarity, but that's okay. I'm sure it's just kind of a naming convention that he's using, which, that's kind of cool to have an expected pattern from someone. So we're looking at the great white and we're looking at a particular budget version. So in the first impressions, a number of you mentioned that, if you really, really like this design, you may want to opt for the full titanium version. Those are out there. I can't remember if White Mountain Knives has any in stock right now, but go ahead, check it out. And if they do, you can save yourself 10% off by using my discount code SHARPSTUFF, or I mean the budget version as well, which is what we're looking at. All right. So that gets sort of the introduction out of the way. Let's quickly run down the size, weight, and carry discussion here, and then we'll get into the particulars of the knife. So this is a moderately large knife, 8 7/16 overall, 3 inches on the blade. It's actually just a hair over that, but not even a 16th. 4 3/16 is the closed measurement. Tons of grip area here. So as you can see, if I just put my fingers on the handle there, I've got lots and lots of space, full 4 inches of grip area. And then there's also this choil that you can choke up. And they've done a nice job of giving you a little sort of rest area for your thumb there. Really nicely done in terms of kind of thinking out where your hand is going to land here. Now, one thing I will say, and some people don't like this, so this is important to point out, this is one of those knives that kind of puts your hand in a particular place. So, your front finger kind of lands here, and then your back finger lands here, and your two middle fingers. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're coached a little by the shape of this handle, where exactly to put your fingers. And then if you choke up, similar idea, you still kind of land in each of those little choils. All right. Something to keep in mind ergonomics wise, and I know a number of you mentioned in the past, you don't always love that. I don't really mind as long as it works for me. Now, the problem is there are variations in hand size, and when you do this kind of thing, sometimes it works and you can try to get it to work for most people. But every once in a while, you'll get a knife like this that has some hiccups. Now, I've handed this around a little bit because, this is one of those knives that people like to check out because it's kind of weird and different and has that odd looking blade shape going on. Most people that I've handed this to didn't feel uncomfortable, felt like it fit their hand okay. If you have really huge hands or really, really small hands, you're probably used to certain things not fitting you perfectly. So I know we're kind of getting into ergonomics there, but I wanted to kind of cover that under grip area so that we kind of get that out of the way right away. The only other thing to touch on here is weight, and this is a pretty svelte knife. I said that in the first impressions, and I think that's why the word just came to me right now, but this is light. 3.2 ounces for a very substantial knife. Like 8 7/16 is not small. It is a little blade heavy. The handle is quite thin and quite light, and so that is, makes it quite easy, quite comfortable to carry. It's not very thick. And so if you're one of those people who likes to have quite a bit of blade while not needing a ton of space in your pocket, this is a pretty good option from that perspective. All right, now there are some sacrifices you've got to make, and we'll talk about those as we kind of work our way through this discussion. All right, so first off, let's take a look at this blade. This blade is kind of interesting to me. One, I love this configuration of it. The satin finish really catches the light nicely. The grind lines are pretty obvious there. I'm messing it all up with my fingerprints, but nonetheless, to me, this is a very attractive looking blade. Now it's different. Okay. So if you're one of these guys who really likes more traditional knives, you're not going to love this. However, I have carried this and I've used it a fair bit, and it's not bad. You know, if you want a straight edge, you've got that out here. If you're kind of doing carving, whatever, you've got that little bit of a recurve. The one weakness, of course, many people have pointed this out, and I've said this many times in the past, if you're trying to sharpen on a sharpening stone, that's where a recurve can be a pain in the neck. I use a sharp maker for probably 80% of my sharpening. And so because of that, it's not a big deal. All right. If you're exclusively using a sharpening stone, that can be a pain in the neck, or you may have to buy something particular. You can buy rounded sharpening stones. You can buy fittings for guided sharpeners that are rounded to accommodate recurve blades, but not, people don't always want to do that. Nonetheless, there it is. We've got a recurve blade. Now, I do need to point out something odd here. So if you look at this knife, you can't really see in the camera that this is a kind of compoundish grind, but you can feel it. So as I run my fingers over the grind there, it kind of swells here. So there is a transition, right? They have ground this slightly differently. It's just not super obvious, certainly not on video. And in fact, I had to look twice and kind of feel a little bit and be like, oh yeah, they do make a transition there, and it's a noticeable transition. So this is sort of an invisible compound grind, if that makes any sense, in that they have kind of ground these two differently, and maybe they've smoothed it out after, or maybe I don't know. However they've done this, there is a bit of a transition there as you go from one grind over to the other. Nice and thin behind the edge. The blade stock on this is, pretty much 1/8 of an inch thick. So not anything crazy, but substantial enough that it, is fairly confidence inspiring. Got this nice swedge on top, fairly fine point. I mean, it's not the worst I've seen. There you go. Not the worst I've seen, but this is not a knife you're going to want to drop. And I guess no knife really is. Lots of you out there have told me stories about dropping a knife on concrete and all the problems that come along with that. Finally, let's touch quickly on the steel. AR RPM 9. That's Civivi and, sorry, not Civivi. That's Artisan and, oh my goodness, CJRB. That is their proprietary powdered metallurgy budget steel, and the performance on it is pretty good. So if you're looking at a knife and it has this AR RPM 9 steel, I think you can buy with quite a bit of confidence. All right. So yeah, the blade is what it is. It's not going to be for everybody. It's one of those things where if you like the looks of it, you've got to make that trade-off and have something that's a little less practical. And for me, I don't really care because I've got lots of practical knives. Every once in a while, it's nice to have something that's a little bit odd, a little bit different, and that's kind of where this fits for me, and that's where I get sort of the enjoyment out of it. Is that it's kind of a little outlandish and a little odd. All right, so that's the blade. Let's talk about the action. This is a very, very smooth knife. Spidey flicks pretty well. Thumb roll is quite comfortable. They've got the hole here designed so that you have quite a few options in terms of how you open it. And overall, it works pretty well. Sorry, I don't think I was totally in frame when I did that last little flick there. The lock bar is pretty accessible. I don't have to think about it too much. It's not uncomfortable, so not too bad. It's not the best I've seen, and as you can see, so here's where it hits the detent ball. So that's a little bit of an annoyance for me. You got to think about, oh, let's push this a little bit further. Now I'm past the detent ball and it just drops shut. But if you only sort of release the lock and just push it a little bit, now I'm sitting on the detent ball and I'm going to have to push that past in order to get it to close. All right. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, pretty decent. This is a standard liner lock. There's nothing really spectacular here. Now, I do need to point out, and I try to do this whenever it happens. I had some comments talking about lock strength and a little bit of flex in this knife. We'll talk about it more under the handle construction, but that is something you can notice. So if I grab this knife and I squeeze it really hard, I can notice a little bit of flex in here. I don't know if it's enough that you can see it on camera, but I'll try to show you. Hopefully you're seeing something there and I'm not just holding the knife up looking like a weirdo. All right, but there is a little bit of flex in that handle. And that's one of the reasons I said, this isn't the hard use, tactical type of knife that you're going to be taking into the forest and depending on for survival or something. This is a bit more of a light use EDC that's a little bit style over substance. All right. Nothing wrong with that. That just is what it is. Would I prefer it to be a little more heavy duty? Yeah, I'd prefer, I tend to lean toward heavier duty knives. So I would like to see that. Do I think this knife is just total garbage because it's not as heavy duty as I'd like? No, because I understand that a lot of you watching don't have the same expectations, don't sort of value that same overbuilt, hefty type of feel that I do. But for me, yeah, I would like it to be a little more heavy duty. In terms of the ergonomics themselves, so that's handle construction. This is a really nice looking black micarta here, micarta backspacer. Check out that clip. Not only is it deep carry, but it's flush fitting into the handle and the screws are flush. This is how all clips should be done. Certainly, it's not how all clips are done, and even some Artisan knives and some CGRB knives are not done this way. So some consistency would be nice there. But I feel like this is one of the things where this is a solved problem. Like we know the best way to do this, so why not do it that way all the time? And this knife does do it the best way. So that's what I like to see, is everything nice and flush and going in and out of pocket. It works exactly as you would expect it to work. Again, because it's done pretty well. So we've talked about the handle, we've talked about the action, we've talked about the blade. I want to do some comparisons and then we'll talk about the giveaway. So this knife is going to be available if you, actually, I guess we're going to talk about the giveaway right now since I went and brought it up. Um, if you go over to Instagram, give me a follow on Instagram, follow White Mountain Knives, and I'm going to post a picture of this knife just with, giveaway, comment, that kind of thing. So when you see that post with this knife, with the rules of the giveaway on it, go ahead and comment there. All it takes is a comment suggesting somebody else. I know sometimes people do 2 or 3. Just if you follow me already, just suggest one other person. Maybe they'll follow me. And maybe they'll follow White Mountain Knives. I mean, if they want to be in on the giveaway, they're going to have to follow both of us. So there you go. We're going to do a giveaway with this one. Now that we've got that stuff out of the way, let me bring in some comparisons. So here is a similar colored knife. This, of course, is the CGRB Feldspar with a button lock. I like this knife quite a bit. About the only thing I could do to make this better would be to have a satin blade. Problem is, Justin just didn't have any satin ones left when I picked this one up. So here it is in a black blade. And it's no big deal. As you can see, the black is holding up pretty well. I don't carry it every day, so it's not like I'm pounding the crap out of this all the time. But even though anyway, just another competitive options from CRGB. Pretty much the Feldspar is still high on my list of favorites. I like the Scoria as well. What else have we got here? Let's throw in a Rat Model 1. Here, if you're just wanting a practical tool, guys, and you're looking at this going, Kevin, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Well, there you go. Get a Rat Model 1. Maybe you already have one. Use that. Enjoy it. You don't need this particular knife, especially if it doesn't suit your needs, suit your purposes. Haven't had a Sen cut on the channel, I don't think. This is the like budget line of Civivi. This is a decent little knife. This is the, what do we got here? Seneca Snap, I think. So decent little knife. I thought I'd throw it in just as a comparison since it's similar sized and falls nicely into that budget category as well. And let's throw in a Petrified Fish Victor here as well. The reason I brought this knife out is because it does sort of the opposite of this. This is a pretty hefty knife here. It's very hand-filling, very confidence-inspiring. I like this knife a whole lot, and I just find it's a little more the knife that I tend to be drawn to. Everything is thicker, heavier, more robust. It's a knife that, as I say, just inspires a little more confidence than the Great White. Now, from a design standpoint, this is really cool. And, if you want this, but in a slightly heftier package, you can look to the titanium frame lock. I know it's going to cost you more, but nonetheless, there it is. If you use my discount code, it won't cost you quite as much more. The other thing is, I like that this is available in a budget form because this is something that's a bit of a novelty, right? I like Gavco designs. I think this is a cool looking blade. And so from that perspective, I want to check it out. Am I buying this thinking that this is going to be my new day-to-day EDC knife? No. Okay. So because of that, my expectations are slightly modified. I'm not looking for this to take the place of my Rat Model 1. I already have a Rat Model 1. All right. So for that reason, I still like this knife, even though it could be a little more robust. Those are my thoughts on the Artisan Great White collaboration with Gavco knives. Again, if you want this knife, I'm going to try to make it very close. So if you're watching this video, if it just came out today, then go over to my Instagram. If it came out a couple of days ago, I'm probably going to leave the post up for 4 to 5 days. So yeah, if you see this in the first week after I post it, go ahead and head over to Instagram and join that giveaway. And best of luck to you. If you're watching this 2 years from now, sorry about your luck. I just hope you enjoyed the video and it gave you the information you needed to figure out whether or not this was a knife you wanted to buy. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.